Blog Talk Radio.
You feel it deep inside, a desire within to completely transform your life. The question of who am I is ready for I am. Overcome your fears, step into your power, and unleash your inner goddess. Join Life Concierge Heidi and experience the Unsung Goddess in you. The Unsung Goddess is a heart-based project focused on creating a community of women who are ready to celebrate and discover their authentic self and purpose. Those who are on a journey of self-love, acceptance, healing, growth and empowerment. A transformation from who am I to I am. It is an awakening of divine feminine energy, growing out of pure love, to honor those who are courageous enough to say, I have set free the goddess in me.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Unsung Goddess. This is Heidi coming to you here live, actually, on a Sunday evening, an off evening for us, as long as the Unsung Goddess has been on the air every week. It has always been on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m., and those times will continue, actually. They are not going to be changed, although when we have something as special as this evening that is planned, sometimes we just need to make adjustments, and this is actually going to re-air this particular show on October the 30th on the regular time, 7 p.m., which is Wednesday, October 30th. And so we just really, with this special guest, I wanted to make sure that I was accommodating him and the time, his busy schedule, and when it was just going to be perfect divine timing. And this is the evening that we planned. And so we are just, actually, this is very pleasant here doing this on a Sunday evening. I even contemplating about changing, but we're going to go ahead and just stick with the Wednesday plan, but it actually feels good doing this for a change on a Sunday evening. So if you have not connected with me yet, for all of you newbies that are listening, I do have a Facebook page, which is The Unsung Goddess. So it's facebook.com/The Unsung Goddess. And, of course, you can always connect with me by email, which is theunsunggoddess@gmail.com. And my website is up, theunsunggoddess.com, but that is undergoing a lot of changes, so please be patient with the website, but it's always wonderful to connect with you there. And, gosh, we just got through with some really powerful times right now, astrologically and energetically, with the full moon eclipse, and, we've just really got a lot going on in the world, a lot of changes. We obviously have our government that has reopened, and that has just affected and taken a lot of pressure and stress off a lot of people. So we're just really sending out our good vibrations to everyone and all who were maybe possibly affected by all of that. And actually, our guest that we have this evening actually lives in a national park, Yosemite, California, and really saw how this, I believe it was a 16-day government shutdown, affected where he lives. But most importantly, what we are here to talk about is how we can all just stay aligned in love in everything that we do and all of our experiences in life. It's really about stepping into that inner power, and on this particular show I call it the inner goddess, and really because of the fact that we are truly being led right now by a divine feminine presence that is coming here on our planet like it has never come and influenced us before. And so it's not just a feminine female thing that it's affecting. There are just so many men that are coming into their hearts, and we have just on this particular show had the honor to have so few of them who have come and shared how the divine feminine is affecting them. And that journey between the head and the heart for men is just a very powerful thing right now, especially as women are proclaiming their own self-divinity and really reclaiming a lot of our own power and coming out of a lot of repression and, moving into a more loving, compassionate, and joyful place than we were with, patriarchy, control, and greed and different things like this. So we just really are in this beautiful time and space that we are all affected with the higher vibration of love, compassion, tolerance. And the guest that I have on this evening, his name is Paul Vasquez, but many of you know him as Yosemite Bear. And he has probably one of the most iconic stories that you might all have known, because he had a YouTube video that went viral back in 2010 where he saw a double rainbow in his front yard. He lives up in the mountains in just outside of Yosemite, and actually had many experiences with rainbows, but on this particular day, he had his video camera, because he is quite a YouTuber and has just an amazing YouTube channel with hundreds of video content. And he had actually been doing this for quite a bit with his YouTube channel, where he would, video all types of vlogging, different situations and events that he would be in his daily life, and share them on YouTube like many YouTubers do. But this particular day back in 2010 became viral, and it has actually been viewed since 2010. I put on my announcement today, about 40 million people, and he corrected me. I stand corrected, because it's actually been hundreds of millions of people, because it's just that one video on YouTube that was about 40 million, and he's got many. There's also, my goodness, they have made songs after this video. There's a song on iTunes that has been viewed also about 30 million times. And because of the fact that this video went viral, he has really become an iconic figure in our culture, spiritual culture, pop culture, really quite a phenomenon. And it has truly changed his life. And he has been on so many different radio shows. He has been on CNN. He's been on Good Morning America. He's been on Jimmy Kimmel many times. He's done commercials. His Double Rainbow video plays at the introduction of Meet the Millers, the movie that just came out with Jennifer Aniston a couple months ago. He also has just really had a chance to travel throughout the world, really, and continue to just entertain his fan base with this really, like I said, this phenomenon of this double rainbow video. And so I just want to take a moment before I bring him on, because anyone who has actually not seen the actual video, I just want to share with you. Let's just take a listen to a little clip here about his double rainbow video. Bring that in. Double rainbow video.
Double rainbow. Oh my God. It's a double rainbow all the way. Oh, it's a double rainbow all the way.
So, and I really highly recommend that you guys just Google double rainbow, or Google that, or put that on YouTube and see the rest of that. But it was really the response and the reaction that he had to this double rainbow that has caught the attention of millions and millions of YouTubers, and now just people all across the world that have just caught this infectious you get a vibration just watching this. You really, truly feel him, and that is because he feels that he experienced a very spiritual spiritual event that day, and many people have interviewed him about that, and I'm going to have him speak a little bit about that. There is massive amounts of information about what it was that he saw, why he, responded that way on that particular day. But when I met him and we connected, what I was most interested in is him and his life story and what it was that his journey was that had led him up to this point in his life. And we began talking about that, and what I discovered were so many treasures and jewels and just life lessons and deeply touching emotional circumstances that he has been through that led me to truly understand what it really is that caused him to have such a profound spiritual experience with this double rainbow. And we're going to put that all together because it is beyond the rainbow that there is this beautiful story, and he is just, so going to grace us with this story this evening that hardly anyone has heard. I think that he has a video diary of a book that he is writing that he has vlogged. So if you go on to his YouTube, which is Yosemite Bear on YouTube, you can find actually multiple different videos where he is vlogging his life. So you can find some information there. And I think he's possibly done one other show, which was, I believe, was with his sister that talked a little bit about his life story. But truly today I am honored for the very first time to bring this story out into the public, and I just feel so honored that he has chosen me to do this with. So everyone, please welcome Paul Yosemite Bear Vasquez. Welcome there.
Oh, thanks. Thanks for having me. That was quite an introduction.
Well, it just is, like I said, as I was talking there, I really feel honored that you have chosen me to end this platform of the Unsung Goddess, where we create just a sacred, beautiful space to be authentic and open and vulnerable and really share our most deepest, precious moments outwardly and publicly, because it is what makes us, is the things that shape our lives. And a lot of times they are not, it's not all rainbows and sunshine. It's not the rainbows and the sunshine that shape our lives. Many times it's the darkness and the shadow and the traumas, and it's coming out the other side and realizing that the rainbow is this symbolic, beautiful symbolic metaphor that reminds us what we've been through and what we've overcome, and then, who we become in the process. And you just have a really beautiful story that will hear it tonight. They will tie into and watch that double rainbow video, I believe, completely differently. I mean, they're already moved and touched emotionally just by watching it. Like, how can a person respond and react to a rainbow? People see rainbows all the time, like what caused your response to do that? And when they hear this story, they're really going to put those pieces together, and then it becomes even more something that we will all become deeply connected to. So let's just start with a little bit about the video. Let's, start there and work our way backward if we can. So just kind of sum up the video a little bit.
All right, so the video was shot on January 8th, 2010 in my front yard, and I had just finished writing an email saying how I felt like I was Noah, because I have my own farm, I have my own well, I have gardens, greenhouses, fruit trees. It had been feeling like I was making an ark here for if society or the system that we're on collapses. And I've been thinking that I wanted to have something as a backup in case that happened, kind of like an ark. And rainbows have been coming to me with ever-increasing frequency. And so right when I said this, or wrote this in an email, my house fills with color, and I grabbed my camera off the coffee table. There's always a camera within arm's reach of me. and I turn it on, and the video starts when I'm actually in my house, and I walk outside my house, and I see it's like, wow, full-on double complete rainbow all the way across the sky. But the first part of the video, there's a tree in the way, and so in order to see the whole thing, I have to walk a little bit. I think about 40 feet or so. And when I clear the tree, it feels like a giant hand pushes me to the ground. And I'm actually on my butt recording like the last 2/3 of that video, and just trying to hold the camera still, because what's going on through my mind is I just finished writing this email saying how I felt like Noah. Noah was the prophet who saw a rainbow, and this thing looks like an eyeball in my front yard that's all the way across the sky. And what's going through my head is, what can have an eyeball that big? And then it dawns on me that that's God. I'm in the presence of God. I mean, I just finished saying how I was like Noah. So, I mean, it was all tying together. And in the video, I over and over say, oh, my God, because I'm understanding that that's God right there. That's what's going on. And what's happened to the video is proof that that's what happened, because it is just swept through humanity. And from now on, when anyone sees a rainbow, they have to think of that video, and it's getting them to walk down that meaning.
Mm-hmm. And then they never, truly never view rainbows the same way.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
I've really infected humanity's consciousness, so that now when they see a rainbow, they're questioning it, because in the video I say, what does it mean? And constantly people are sending me pictures or little videos they shot of their rainbow experience, and almost all the time they ask, what does it mean? Now, they don't really realize that they're asking what it means. They're just mouthing my words. But here's the thing. If I could get them to start mouthing the words, I'm walking them down that path. And here's the thing, and it's not me. I'm not. It's not coming from me. It's spirit flowing through me. So that's the whole thing. I'm just a vessel of spirit, and I'm a servant, and spirit is using me to awaken humanity's consciousness.
You have affected so many people. When I started watching your videos, it was, you are on Awakening Code Radio. I have this amazing, beautiful soul pod in Laguna Beach. I was on Awakening Code Radio with Eric Rankin. I was invited to be on his show, and we just really, really connected. And I have truly met a soul galactic family within that group, and just feel really, really blessed to have those doors, those floodgates open for me, as just these amazing people have come into my life that have such beautiful gifts, and just learning so much from them, and really going deeper and deeper into walking the spiritual journey, because they are just so fully connected. And so, when you were on Awakening Code Radio, I heard you. I had your Double Rainbow before, because Jason, who does the music over there, and he's part of the team, and he's also an admin for the 1111 Awakening Code page. And he had been talking to me about you, and I said, yeah, I just saw that video. I mean, it's just amazing, his reaction and his response. It's like at first you listen and you go, wait, really? Is he for real? Is he serious? And then as you get more into it, it's like, oh my gosh, he is absolutely having this experience. And then as you even move through, more seconds into it, you become fully immersed in your experience and connected and moved through it. And everyone that speaks about that talks about that. So you were on Awakening Code Radio, and everybody was just kind of friending you. And I saw that you had 40 million people who had watched your videos. So when I requested your friendship, I really did not expect to connect with you in any other way than maybe you would accept the friendship and, I could follow you. Sure. But, all of a sudden I got an instant message through Facebook from you. and it just so happened that Core Flora was with you, and Core Flora is another divine goddess who just a beautiful little being that has also been on the show. And you had met her because you went on the Dolphin Cruise and with Michelle Anderson, and you guys you connected with that same group that I'm connecting with. And at any rate, that's basically all that I had expected. And you reached out, and we just started talking, and it was pretty amazing. I was very interested, obviously, in the fact that you're quite a phenomenon. And I know that your life has significantly changed. How could it not when 40 million, millions and millions, hundreds of millions of people literally are following you, know you. You have been in front of crowds of tens of thousands of people singing the Double Rainbow song to you and been flown all over the world. I mean, your video is in the opening credits of Meet the Millers with Jennifer Aniston, one of the most iconic actresses right now. You've met her, you've done a commercial with her. So, since 2010, your life has just changed quite a bit. And the way that we connected was, that was all great. Yeah. But I just thought to myself, there has got to be a story behind what the heck can cause a person to be so fully immersed in a connection with Spirit and God. And I was far more interested in that story than anything else. Yeah. And, maybe you're just a really open guy and you just kind of open up to anyone, but I really felt that you and I had a connection and that you really started just freely opening up to me and telling me your story. And I was moved by it. And so if we can, I would love for you to back up and tell the audience a little bit more about you, things tonight that they may learn about Paul Vasquez before he was Yosemite Bear that no one would know. And I know that they are going to, you better watch out because they're going to fall even more in love with you once they find out what is beyond that rainbow. So I'll let you go ahead and get started on that.
Okay, so one thing a lot of people say, oh, has it changed your life? And 99.9% of my life is exactly the same. And people say, what's different about your life? And I always say I do a lot of interviews now. But I do them from here. I'm just talking to people on the phone, So,
right. Well, you have traveled a lot. You've gone to many places throughout the world. You have met some really amazing entertainers, and you've been, Jimmy Kimmel, and been on CNN. You've been on television. The news media has been to your home. You have really many people coming through your beautiful where you live. Your beautiful home, and connecting with you and staying with you. So.
The traveling and meeting the people is the 0.1%. That's changed. There's always been the people coming through my home has not changed whatsoever. And most of the people that come here don't find out about the Double Rainbow stuff until either they get here or like right before when we're talking about what it's going to be like here. But yeah, I'm a farmer. I have some land and I'm like a subsistence dirt farmer. And, I get recognized everywhere, but my life was like that before. I'm this really unusual-looking guy, and so people always stared at me. And the only difference now is they know why they're staring at me because they know why they're connecting to me. But it's always been like that. So my life has changed, for the most part, very, very little. It's just that I do more interviews now. And I traveled a little bit, but, and when you consider how much of time that is in regards to your whole life, it's very, very little. So, yeah, my life is pretty much the same.
That's because you're so incredibly humble, Bear, on so many levels. And so, you are so grounded in who you are and what your full purpose is and why you're here. Yeah. And you speak and it's through a spirit, and you are just a huge light and the way that you influence people, you don't believe that you do, but you do. Otherwise, you wouldn't have such a massive following. But there's a reason behind all of that. So
it's true.
Let's get to it, because this next hour is going to go by fast. So.
Okay, so I was born in Los Angeles, in the barrios of East Los Angeles, where it was gang and drug and violence infested. It was a really tough place to grow up, and I always believed, or I always wanted to go live in the mountains. When I was real young, I read a book about a kid who ran away to the mountains, and that was kind of like my reality. That's what I was going to do, and I shaped my life so that I could go towards that thing. I kind of started doing things that was going to make me have that goal. So yeah, growing up in East Los Angeles was a huge factor in producing what I became. Just having that violence and like living in fear really was a huge factor in creating what I became.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. So basically, you had to grow up fast, grow up tough, and just kind of skipping ahead really quick. I don't want to spend too much there, but I mean, eventually you became a cage fighter, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, cage fighter. You were a firefighter, and you took fire science and really, did some pretty extreme stuff with the fire department, correct?
Right. Yeah, I used to fly in helicopters to fight fires, and then I fought fire in Yosemite too when I came up to live in Yosemite in 1985. So yeah, I had a really colorful life, and I kind of just set it up so that I could do what I'm doing, which is have a piece of land and live on it.
But your biggest fight to protect yourselves and the most fear actually did not come from the streets of LA. It came from right inside of your own home. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so my mother was 18 when she had me, and I was a handful. I was always real precocious and real smart, and she didn't know how to handle me, and she turned to violence. And she used violence to like deal with me. That's like that was her go-to method. And I remember being a little kid and thinking she might kill me. It was like it was not a good way to grow up, because I remember like one time my father leaving to work and knowing she was going to beat me up, and I told my dad, and my dad said, "Don't hurt him," and she's, "No, I won't." And when he left, she really laid into me and was like, "Don't you ever do that again." So it was like, there was, once my father was there to not protect me, it was like I was at her mercy. And at like 5 years old, I learned how to get away. I learned how to take the city bus. My dad was a bus driver, so I had a full free bus pass. So I would get my bus pass, and I would go visit my grandparents for the weekend. I was just gone. I was the invisible kid because I was really afraid for my life. I thought I could die there, and that was tough.
Well, I want to go back because I really want to emphasize that you were 5.
Yeah.
That, and let me say that again, 5 years old. And feeling like you have to flee for your life to protect yourself, because the one thing that we are supposed to be, that's supposed to protect us, to nurture us, to love us, to, give us confidence and strength and all the beautiful things that mother is supposed to do. And at 5 years old, you were trying to figure out how to escape and flee for your life, because that's the earliest memory of, if I don't get out of here, she's going to kill me.
Yeah.
which is a pretty intense emotion for a 5-year-old child to feel. And so, the thing that I was caught most up in, Bear, when we were talking, is that, obviously you grew up and you learned how to take care of yourself. You learned how to get around on buses and go where you need to go. You're very street savvy, and you, I think you got bullied, in school quite a bit, and got picked on and beat up on. And let's go to the story where you were, kind of beat up on. You came home one day and had that talk with your mom that there were some kids picking on you, and how she reacted to that.
Well, so it was so violent where we lived, and I remember like 3 kids beat me up. They were all bigger, older kids, and I came home, having been beat up, and it's kind of obvious. And my mom was like, "Who did this to you?" And I said, "Oh, these kids that live on the other block." And she grabbed me and took me out there and said, she made me point out who they were, and then she threw me into them and said, "Now you fight." And I was like, "No, they're bigger than me and stronger than me, and, there's 3 of them." And she's like, "Then I'm going to kick your ass." And she started beating on me in front of them. And so I was like, well, because I couldn't hit her back. So I thought, well, it'd be better for me to, fight with these other kids than get beat up by her, because I couldn't fight back with her. So I did it. I started wailing on these kids, and these kids are freaking out. They're like, "Whoa, what's going on?" But yeah, that was like an early lesson. It's like it's violent here, and you need to fight to survive. And everything was violence in my reality as a little kid. I think I was 8 at that point, and it just taught me. It really ingrained into me, don't ever let anyone take advantage of you. And that was the kind of mentality that you had to have there to survive. So that was something that formed in me early on, and it was damaging to my soul, but it made it so that I survived my childhood, because I don't think I would have if I hadn't been like that.
It's pretty amazing what kicks in for, in that survival mode, and, really how that shapes us. But that's still not what I am emotionated about you with. So, 5 years old, you're fleeing for your life from your mother and your home. 8 years old, she is basically teaching you how to fight by literally belittling you and demasculating you at age 8 in front of other children so that you'll toughen up and fight them. And you're learning, that obviously with violence, that is how you protect yourself, and then you obviously have a huge disconnect from any kind of nurturing and obviously a relationship with your mother. So what is the most incredible thing is that when I watch your videos, you have this reverence, appreciation, gentleness, kindness, compassion for the divine feminine. How does a man who has grown up in violence, who was literally tortured and physically abused, psychologically, emotionally, physically, by its own mother, and live in fear and learn that through, physical violence and, strength and keep in protecting yourself and surviving, that's how you are supposed to live. How does one come out of that for so many years? Because the violence with your mom lasted until what age?
Until I became bigger or big enough to where when she beat on me, she got hurt, and I learned how to block myself.
So what age was that?
Probably about 9 or 10.
Okay.
Yeah, I was physically too big for her to hurt me without hurting herself.
Mm-hmm.
So then I wasn't really in fear for my life anymore at that point.
Because you realized, I could block myself, and
Yeah.
when she hits me, it actually hurts her more than it hurts me, and so that gave you a lot more confidence. But you never laid a hand on her or tried to hurt her back.
Never. Yeah, I was like, I thought that was probably what would kill me if she did that. If I did that, if I ever lashed out back at her, that was probably going to be the end of me. So it was like I had to take it. The most that I could do was just like block her blows. And
so you took it because you were literally afraid that if you did that would mean she would do something to really, really hurt you or harm you and kill you. Okay.
Yeah.
So how is it that you have been able to have such a divine reverence, a reverence and respect for the divine feminine? Explain that to the audience. Where, in the depth of your soul, where does that come from? At what point do you have such compassion and forgiveness and understanding that you are able to have, to love women and to love the divine feminine influence of the world and of God, really?
So it comes from lots of different things that I've done in my life. A big part of it was the martial arts. The martial arts trains you in it trains the pathways in your brain and how to channel the anger, the violence, the physicality behind it. And when you take martial arts, it negates all the negative connotations to violence and turns it into a positive thing. Martial arts is how to love your fellow man aggressively. So that right there was huge because it got me to channel my anger and my physicality. And the other part was like, okay, so when I was young, I was a beautiful young man, and women loved me. And because I had this disconnect from women, all I really had to do was just say yes. And there was lots of women. And so what I grew up believing was that sex was love. And, I loved a lot of women, but it was not, it was only one level of love. It was just the physical aspect of it. And, so I mean, I got married, I had children, and I got to a point where, I was so dysfunctional that I got divorced. And when I realized that I can't live with my kids, I realized there was something terribly wrong with me. So I started on a journey of self-exploration, of self-healing. I went to lots of therapy. I went to a lot of seminars. We did a lot of Native American ceremonies. My children are Native American, and we've had these ceremonies since they were born in 1987. That's as old as my daughter is. So I've been doing these ceremonies, and that's been a big part of it, too, because that's trained me spiritually. So, and anyhow, so I got to a point where it was like I was living by myself. My children weren't living here, and there was a big gap of time when I lived in solitude, and I didn't have any feminine company. And there was a point when it just started changing. It was in early 2009, and a beautiful young woman came and lived with me, and it really changed my reality. And I was like, man, I really like this. And when I like something, it usually happens. And so there was like a flood of women who were coming and visiting me from all over the world, and they were volunteering on my farm or just coming from couch surfing or just coming from around here, just come and clean my house and be with me. And so I I was like freaking out. It's like, why are all these women coming and staying with me? And I later figured it out that what I was doing was I was paying this karmic debt to femininity because I had so much sex with women and didn't love them. And now what I was doing was I was loving all these women but not having sex with them. So that once I figured that out and realized that's what I had done in all of 2009, it really opened things up, and it really enabled me to love completely. So yeah, it's the martial arts. It's the fact that I spent many years alone, and then paying back that karmic debt to femininity, which enabled me to start loving women. And also they trained me. They trained me on how to treat women, how to appreciate women, how not to want women. And and it's brought so many beautiful women from all over the world here, and the way I act keeps them coming. So, and it's just the fact that women are the most beautiful thing in the universe. Jimmy Kimmel asked me if the rainbow was the most beautiful thing I ever seen, and I said, no, women are. So, it has to be because women are the opposite of men, and of course they're going to be the most beautiful thing in our eyes. So I just have an appreciation for all things, and that's the most powerful thing there is.
For me, it was, I love the way that everything came full circle for you on your journey and on your path. This is all pre-double rainbow videos here, guys. So, this is one of the things that also stood out the most for me was that you've always been an explorer. You've always been very, very curious. You've always been the first one, you and I have laughed about it quite a bit, and you've laughed about it on your videos, that you're always the first one to raise your hand and volunteer, oh, I'll do that, or I'll do that. And you sort of learned that because that was also an escape mechanism as you were a child. If there was something that was going to keep you after school longer or involved in something home or anything that you could be doing outside of the home, if there was, something that you could volunteer for, you did it. You were the first one to step up and say, I'll do it. So because you were constantly exploring the world around you, I know that there was a big part of your life that really saw that the way that you grew up and your reality that was at home was not the way that it was outside in the world, that there was actually goodness out there. And, a lot of your life was actually spent while you were protecting yourself and surviving and learning it in a really very masculine, patriarchal way of fight. Fight, and if you're the biggest and the most powerful and the strongest, that will gain you power and respect, within your community and the people that are around you. And then yet there was this other duality part of you that sort of was extremely curious and seeking something that you had never had or experienced before. And so, for you, it's about women not being able to fully connect with them on a level of how to love them, but you obviously connected with them for the like you said at a more superficial level, but not ever going there deeper. And then coming full circle in what you are calling a karmic debt, but having these women show up in your life where it was not something that was on that superficial level, but much deeper, but yet still disconnected in a way from the intimacy that can go along with allowing yourself to kind of fall in love and see what it is like to have this relationship. And the reason why I bring this up, and this is all so important when it comes to prior to this double rainbow video, is because ultimately our spiritual journey is just a beautiful long journey that shows us how to have this ultimate relationship and love of self. It's all about going inward, and your long periods of solitude, I'm sure, have brought you into a much clearer understanding of what it is that means. Because when we can go inward and find that God within, I call it the inner goddess on the show, because when a woman can step into her inner goddess and find her authentic self and really, connect with that person and learn how to love her whole. And for women, there's a lot of things that we deal with, that's, shame and fears and, many things that we have to learn sometimes in order to heal through our experiences, so that we're not feeling repressed, whereas men many times have to learn how to repress their emotions and become that very strong, powerful, sometimes violent, patriarchal figure. It's all a bunch of labels, but when we can get past all of that dogma and rules and experiences and stories, it really is about coming back into learning how to love ourselves and finding the love within, that we are worthy, that we are capable of being loved and compassion. We are deserving of joy, and that we can let those walls down and become vulnerable and be our authentic self and be loved for who we truly are. And so when that double rainbow came and you saw the eye of God in it and felt Spirit move through you, was that possibly the very first time that you felt love? Because true, divine love on a level that you've never experienced before, because that's how I felt when I watched that video.
Yeah. So I had the revelation that the year before I had been repaying this karmic debt, and the Double Rainbow video was pretty much a signpost indicating that I had this revelation. It wasn't me experiencing love at that point. It was a marker saying, yes, you understand. This is now you are now able to love. So yeah, it didn't come with that, but that video was a sign that now I was capable of it.
So it was sort of like this platform of a whole other level that you had reached.
Yes.
And then, then it just kind of opens up from there.
Yeah. And I met a woman that I eventually became. It was like I learned what it was like to love someone, mind, body, and spirit. Probably about 10 days after the video came, or after I shot the video. Yeah.
So it manifested quickly.
Yeah.
After that.
Very quickly.
Right, where you got to really truly experience that on a completely different level.
Yeah.
Now, here's another interesting question, because I know that, when I crossed that threshold for me, those aha moments of where we just sort of, tear down another layer and get into those juicy spots deep within that can be, very painful, and sort of, looking at things that maybe we've never looked at before, or looking at them differently with a little bit more acceptance and awareness and ability to face them and heal them and move through them, love ourselves through them. But, at some point, at what point do you really connect and really begin to realize how love in its truest form is spirit, is God, is that universal energetic field that literally is Gaia, Mother Earth, Mother, nature, and all that is connected. Because at some point, don't you just slip into connection and alignment with Source? Because right now, when I've done that, and as you are doing that, I feel that every relationship has the potential for me to experience a love on a completely different level. It's not a human physical. It's not about sex. It's so intensely beyond that, because you're meeting people through their heart, through their soul, and you're touching them in that way. So after that 2010 video, because I went through and I read a lot, I've read many, many comments that have been posted on many, many different videos of how you are affecting people, the effect that you are having.
Yeah.
And so, you're actually now filtering and being a channel of spirit that has moved through you out to the world, and people are feeling it, and it's transforming their lives. Like, does that, for me, it totally connects, where it brings it all together, and I go, I get it. That's my soul purpose. That is why I am here. I am love.
Yeah. My
job is to be love, give love, receive love on every level for the rest of my life. And to have and carry that vibration with me everywhere I go. Fall in love with everyone and everything, because they deserve my love, to have that connection. Did you get that? Like, what you're doing through these videos to other people's lives and how you're affecting them?
Yeah. I think that's just kind of how I am, and there was no moment where it's like, oh, okay, this is it. This is just my being. And when you were saying, oh, when did you connect to spirit? In 1985, when I came to live in Yosemite, that was such a powerful thing, to come and live in this amazing place, and then doing these Yosemite Indian ceremonies. That it was just like a gradual thing. There was no oh, okay, this is the defining moment. It's just molded me into what I am. And yeah, I understand that I'm a vessel of love, and I just go with it. It doesn't really rock me. It's just what I am, and I understand. And there was a time that it was like, okay, I got to a point where I wasn't sure if I was going to live or die, because I was battling obesity. I was almost 500 pounds. And that's one of the reasons why I got into the cage fighting, to lose all that weight. Anyway, so I got to a point where it's like, okay, I understand that I beat this, and I'm not going to die like I thought I was. And when I got to that point, I was lost. I didn't have a purpose anymore, because up until that point, it had been about fighting this battle so that I could stay alive. And when I realized that I had won the battle, I had no clue as to what to do with my life. And I struggled for a long time. And it came to me that I was supposed to be a servant for my fellow man. And when I came to that realization, it opened up so many things, and it brought a rainbow to me that made me famous.
And now you see them everywhere. You're constant.
Oh yeah.
They're there for you, and that camera. It's just you. You are a rainbow.
Yeah, it's really amazing.
The rainbow is you there.
Yeah, people take pictures of me, and there's like rainbow auras, and or like someone will say, oh, like I'll do an interview, and like, oh, I want to see a rainbow. And I had this guy happen to me one time, and we're like downtown LA, and they're like, oh, I want to see a rainbow. And it's like the middle of the day. There's it's summertime. There's no water around, and he's like, oh, hold on a second, I got to change my memory card. And he pulls out his memory card, and there's a rainbow on it.
Oh my gosh.
It did not escape them.
Well, you have ever, as you're your own connection with spirit has gotten deeper and deeper. You have had lots of just, visions and the way that you see the world, and you capture all of that through the lens of your camera. And so, you do have hundreds of millions of people who are following you, but more and more all the time. And if they really do take the time to look through your videos and watch you, I have watched you in action. I see you with your tie-dyed rainbow scarf and the music that you play and the way that you edit your videos and the free spirit that you are as you're just connecting between you and the camera, the way that you dance around like nobody's watching, the way that you're able to just allow your voice to come through you, whether it's in belly laughter or screaming or crying, and listening to that echo through the mountains of Yosemite, to really understand and see the way that you live. And for me, because I am all about the divine feminine and I am all about connecting to self-love, there is a huge connection with you finding that deep source of love within that you were not ever given as a child. But coming back to what the Unsung Goddess, has taught, and many people come on the show to speak of, is that, you signed up for that. Your soul came here to learn and understand that on a very profound level. And so how would you ever possibly know how to fully step in and receive these beautiful download messages from Spirit had you not had all of those experiences in life at such a young age, to experience deep fear and not having love being not only withheld from you, but, given violence and abuse in place of all of that. It is only through that we can truly and really appreciate, and the appreciation that you have for life, the appreciation you have for women and the divine feminine, the appreciation that you have for Mother Nature and Gaia, the appreciation that you have for humanity, and what it is that you have dedicated your life to come to do is so incredibly touching. It is moving, and for anyone who watches you, it truly is an inspiration for them to think about their lives in a way that's saying, what am I missing? This guy is blissing out on life. They want to ask you if you're on drugs. They want to ask you what you do. They cannot believe that you could possibly be living an experience bliss, sober, or on a level, but that is what connecting with your full living a purpose-driven life is all about. And, oh, my gosh, I just, we're almost out of time there, but I want to just thank you. I am so honored and blessed to, first of all, have had this time with you, the fact that to know you, to be inspired of what it is that you're doing and want to be a part of that, and to be one of the millions and millions of people who have fallen completely and totally head over heels in love with you. So, thank you so much.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's been my pleasure. Yeah, it's been not the typical interview that I've done. Everyone wants to know the topical stuff. What was going on that day, but very few people have gotten behind it. Yeah.
Well,
so
it is my true honor.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So I'm looking forward to just, continuing to be a part of all that we are doing here to reclaim humanity in love and compassion and for the world, because it is life-changing on a global scale. So,
well, it's been a pleasure.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you, everyone. And again, we're going to be replaying this Wednesday, the 30th. If you have not heard it, you can always click on the link anytime after the show from this point forward. But everyone, be love in action. Thank you, Bear. Love you.
I love you too.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Yeah, that was good.